So we 4-time Rugby World Cup champions.
Oh yeah, baby! Woo! 4 times, baby! 4 times!
I can't do no small talk, no small talk. I'm not with the small talk. Can't be with the small talk.
I don't want to brag, but I feel like I saw it coming.
Ooh.
I agree with you. I
saw it coming.
Yeah, I did.
Did you not?
Yo, to be honest, there were many moments where I was doubting. Hey, I was doubting, especially in the beginning when
Let's
we
talk.
had those.
Are you talking before the World Cup?
Before the World
No,
Cup.
before the World Cup, and even like during the World Cup, I had moments where I was like, "Yay!"
Okay.
You know, it got a little bit nerve-wracking. But I would say before, my main concern was just injuries to what I believed were vital players, like Lucanio Andre Pollard was, not necessarily in the mix, and also somebody like Louis de Jager were some of the big names where I was like, hey, like can we do it? Because a lot of people have forgotten about Louis de Jager. So when we were actually building up to the Rugby World Cup, I was like, yay, can we defend without some of the best players in our squad?
I mean, even Sia was injured. We forget that.
Oh,
no.
And
there was
injured.
a
He was
miraculous
injured.
recovery. But ACL, it wasn't torn, but it was
It was
he
mostly
injured.
torn. Yeah.
A slight tear. So, there were concerns heading into the World Cup. But when the squad was announced, did you guys have any feelings towards the exclusions, inclusions?
I'm going to say it outright, and he proved me wrong, and we'll get into it. But when Deon Free was picked, I was shocked.
Yes.
And the reason why, I was like, you got to take Evan Roos. Evan Roos was like URC Player of the Year 2 years in a row, won 2 URC titles, was arguably the in-form 8th man in the world, really, bar from maybe Adi Severe. So that I was like, a bit of a dodgy call. But I still knew that we had the best squad in the world. Best squad in the world.
It's the depth, right? Like, it's the only reason we can do the splits that we do on the bench. Our forward pack is immense.
Immense, yeah.
I was, because all the injuries that we've had, right, leading up to the World Cup and up to the squad announcement, I think I was concerned, would Sia actually play? Like, we knew he recovered. Would he actually play?
Yeah.
And he ended up playing. And when he was starting and coming off the bench, I was like, no, I think we've got this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I think Sia is so much more than just like a captain. Like the impact that he has on a game. Like I don't know what it is about Sia. I mean, he's not. I don't know if you guys notice this, but in my opinion, he's not the loudest captain on the field. Off the field, he talks beautifully. And I'm sure he talks in the change room like an absolute champion. And he's admitted himself that a lot of the leadership team would also take that role often. But when that man is on a field and his eyes are focused, like I remember that Walsh game when we smashed Wales in the warm up, but he looked like he was going to eat somebody.
He was hungry. Hungry for victory.
I don't know what it is about Sia, but he gets on a rugby field and like a switch goes off. And I thought that was brilliant because yes, we missed him as a captain. Yes, we missed him as a number 6. But the way he plays the game, you're like, wow, this team has something special.
You know what I also like about Sia in press conferences? There was a game, or I don't know which game it was in particular. I think it was against Ireland where Manie Libbok missed quite a few kicks. And the media was going on about Manie Libbok not doing what he's supposed to do in terms of kicking. Sia kind of like distracted the media in saying like we all have our own jobs. He took the pressure off Manie Libbok and he put all the pressure of the entire squad on his shoulders. I think that makes for a
Unless
great
you just
captain.
got chills, yeah. No, he's the GOAT.
He is the GOAT. He is the best rugby international captain ever.
I often think about. I mean, when we think about like greatest teams ever, greatest players ever, there's now two people in the
Yes.
conversation when it comes to greatest captain ever. And it's Richie
McCaw.
McCaw and it's Siya Kolisi. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no one even close. That's the list. If you want to make another list, you can make another list. There's no one else. It's those two, and that's the buck stops with them, which I think is amazing.
I think with Siya, the one thing that really stood out for me is, like, it's one thing to be a rugby fan and to be captivated by the journey of the Springboks. But I was fortunate enough to be like involved with some of the fan parks and stuff. But what I've absolutely loved is how much people love Siyamthanda Kolisi. And the moment his face appears on the screen, everybody stops and all of us are looking at the screen and we're like, Siya, Siya, Siya. Because it's almost like his story is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Everybody can relate to his story. And on top of that, and what often happens in sports is we build up this individual and we create this beautiful story around him, and then they don't perform. And with Siya, time after time, handles the pressure and delivers during the big moments. And Siya has been phenomenal during this Rugby World Cup.
So
good.
the Rugby World Cup starts. We start against Scotland. What were your guys' initial thoughts after that win over
Terrified.
Scotland? You terrified?
I thought we played terribly.
Yes.
Genuinely, I think we
Yes.
played really, really bad. I thought we got dominated by a much weaker pack, and I was like, we have like the three best packs in the world are all South African. That's the joke of it. Like we can, and then we
love
get
that.
dominated by Scotland. I was like, what is going on? So I was very stressed after that first game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I remember during that Scotland game, everybody was already talking about the Ireland game because Romania was like a warm up, like
A throwaway.
we just
They
feel
will remain there.
the B team, But the concern was like looking at that Ireland game, and then the questions already started that if we are struggling like this against Scotland, can we beat Ireland? And I'm not saying that we were struggling and lost the game. It's just we won,
way we played.
but there were question marks about can we compete with the best in the world and then beat Ireland.
My thing was like, of course, like we struggled against Scotland, right? But we still came away with a 15-point victory.
It was 18-3.
It was 18-3. With our struggles, with that kind of victory, I think that's a mark of champions. When you don't play your best game, but you're still getting results.
Yeah.
You're winning ugly games.
It's a dogfight.
So I was quite confident despite our performance in that game. I was quite
Yeah.
confident that we'd go far
Yeah.
in the competition.
I think the pressure got worser after that game with the injury to Malcolm Marx. That
Plus, it
broke
was
my
a
heart.
training injury. Those are like
That's
the worst.
one.
Yeah,
What are we doing?
it just
Like,
it pains me.
it wrecked me because and you can argue with me, and I'm surprised that he didn't get nominated. Malcolm Marx, before he got injured, was the best player in the world. And you can't, I'm sorry,
best player.
best player in the world. If you can make an impact like Malcolm Marx, and no one could, over the last year, no one could make an impact like Malcolm Marx. And then he gets injured. And then to make it worse, to put the pressure on, they don't even pick another hooker. we have one hooker left.
What's
That's
happening,
it. One
Marco?
hooker. Then Marco van Staden and
Yes.
Dion Faria throwing lineouts. And that for
And-
me was the worst.
And also, we forget that in 2019, he was a vital part of the squad coming off the bench. And a lot of us were hoping that this is his World Cup where he can truly dominate, take charge, and become that hooker for South
He was
Africa.
in such
And
good form.
building up to the Rugby World Cup, he was phenomenal. But then,
Training
that
injury.
injury happened.
But then, so they brought in Andre Pollard for
So it
Malcolm
worked
Marx.
out.
It worked out in the end.
But it still killed me. Because I was
wasn't
like,
the
what if
same.
Bongi tears his knee, bruh? Come on.
And Dion Faria for the rest of the.
And we
goat.
saw that in the final.
Goat, yeah.
Go.
Then comes the Ireland game, which
Ooh.
I think everyone was looking forward to. Besides the Scotland game, everyone was like, "Okay, Ireland,
Yeah.
the
This
number
is the
one
one.
nation."
Versus the number 2 nation.
That's where it
Yeah.
got serious. That's where we started focusing. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, before getting into the Ireland game, I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on the World Cup pool draw happening like years prior, because to me it doesn't make sense.
That was a mistake.
Yeah.
I think that's something that they'll have to relook at. I'm not sure how they're going to approach it going into 2027 for Australia, but it has to happen a lot closer to the Rugby World Cup because
things change over years.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And they weren't expecting like the groups to be positioned the way they were for this Rugby World Cup. So
But I
they'll
think
definitely
also,
have to relook at that.
Like, why are you doing it 4 years prior?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cycles change, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think the earliest you could think of doing it is the year before.
Yes.
Yeah.
If not like a couple months before.
I'd say 6 months maybe.
Yeah.
before.
Like the football does it like 2-3 months before the actual
Tournament.
That's
tournament.
what I'm saying. Because like that, then you know the world rankings, and also you will then, and I suppose that, and we'll get into it. I mean, that's why I consider this the greatest Rugby World Cup triumph ever. You're never gonna have. We played 3 finals
basically.
and 2 semi-finals,
Mm.
and we still won the World Cup.
It's
Like,
amazing.
It's wild. We played every other nation in the top 6.
Yes.
Beat all of them. Every other nation in the top 6. We like in a row. Ireland, Scotland,
Bar Island.
Bar.
Yeah.
I mean Bar Island, but we
Yeah.
played at least.
We
but I'm
played,
saying
yeah.
we played all those games. We and you're gonna avoid that because like for France, and my heart breaks for them because I genuinely believe. I think Ireland are good. I think France are better in my opinion. They're the second best team in the world behind us. But look at what happened.
Yeah.
You came against us in the quarterfinal.
Yes.
We were like, sit down.
Unfortunately.
And
it had to
Ireland
be like,
was up against
And
New
Ireland,
Zealand.
those were
it's-
technically the semi-finals for
Yeah.
all intents and purposes. Because really, England and although they
Argentina.
gave us a run, England and Argentina were like throwaway games.
Yeah.
So they definitely need to do it like 3 months before. Yeah.
So then the Ireland game comes around, and this is the point where I feel like the Gees and the all South Africans coming together.
yes.
This was the moment I felt more South African than anything else. Was before this Ireland game, the build up to the Ireland game. How were your guys' feelings prior?
I mean, prior I was feeling quite confident. I was quite. I felt like we were in a good place as an entire squad. But yeah, after the game was a different story.
We actually watched the game together.
Yes, we did.
In Clarence.
That's where we watched it. Yeah.
And it was, I mean, the result was disappointing,
To say the least.
to say the least, but we were still, and then there was this whole thing of, if Scotland beat Ireland by so many points, so there was this weird permutation where we get knocked out.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I don't think that was ever going to happen. And then some people were saying, so obviously we lose that match, and then people were saying, oh, Ireland are going to throw away the Scotland match. I'm like, Rugby World Cups are one of momentum. There's only one team that's ever won it when losing a game. It was us, and we did it again.
Twice.
We did it again. Okay, that's the only time it's ever happened prior to 2019 and 2023. You're not going to do that. I just think, and I want your guys' thoughts, I just think Ireland completely destroyed us that game.
No, for
yes.
sure.
My
yes.
confidence
Yeah.
after that game, I was like, we're not winning.
Yeah.
We're not winning.
And also, if I may add, like, yes, they completely made us look like, school kids to a certain extent, and especially in certain aspects of the game. But I started worrying about Manie Lebok and his kicking from that game, because building up to the Rugby World Cup, he played so well in the URC, and for me personally, I was hoping that he gets to wear the number 10 jersey, be the fly half, and not have Handré Pollard magically come into the squad and take that away from him. But during Scotland, I saw a few question marks, and then that Ireland game, I was like, yo, Manie, I'm a little bit concerned. And now I started wishing that we can get Handré Pollard back into the squad, because given the way that we play, kicking off the tee is such a vital part of the game. And fortunately, towards the latter part of the tournament, Handré did come back to save the day. But that's when we started seeing a few big question marks for the squad if we were to then defend, which we did.
I think also to like save money a bit, like I think it was one mistake that Rassie and Jacques have made over the years is always relying on Handré Pollard. If you think about it, we've never had a solid backup 10. And Manie Lebok, he wasn't just good this year. He didn't all of a sudden become a good flyer.
Over the
last
few
2 or
years.
3 years, yes, he bounced around. He's at the Sharks, he's at the Bulls. He eventually found a home in the Western Cape. But like, that is the one fault that I find with Jacques and Rassie. Like, they failed to find another fly-up. They entrusted Yankees, who we all knew was not at the level he needed to be for years.
Yes.
For years he wasn't, right? But that's where I like, because I mean, Manie Libbok's only played 9 tests for the country. You know,
we
we're
forget
going
that,
like,
actually.
you're missing kicks against the number 1 team in the world. Obviously.
Oh, yeah.
It's to happen.
I played this game 5 times. I mean, this jersey barely fits, bro. They haven't
feeling this
fitted
pressure.
me,
It
bruh.
smells like new.
Yeah.
and also, to be fair, you talk about like not having a plan B. It's also, we saw Faf kicking as well for the Springboks as well. So it shows that they were just trying a few different combinations, hoping that one works.
Yeah, because I mean, we have depth everywhere. Flyaf was just not the place where we had depth. And it's unfortunate that Alton didn't rise to the occasion, and then now he's gone off like in a very dark place. I feel very sorry for him because I love the guy. I think like, as I was not a Lions supporter, but someone who grew up in Joburg, you know, he made that Lions team iconic for many years,
yes,
right?
Sir.
But no one really stood up and said, I'm going to take that 22 jersey and make it my own and, you know, come and help the team. So I thought, I love that, like, a lot of people spoke after the World Cup win, even though Andre started the final. They were like, who got us there? Because Manie Libbok got us there, you know. And I think, yeah, we've got to celebrate him for that.
Well, no, for sure. So we complete the pool stage. We come second in the pool stage. That puts us against the host nation,
Ho ho!
France.
Ho-ho!
What a game it was, nail biting for me.
Huge.
But I still somehow felt confident.
Yeah.
I feel like when
Never
the
doubt.
Boks have everything against them, that's when they perform the best. Imagine like a huge, I don't know how many seater stadium it was, but
It's massive,
the
Yeah.
major French
yeah.
support. And it's just like a few South Africans,
Yeah.
and we trying to just do our job.
Little
and
measly South Africans going.
Yeah.
It's 23 rand to the euro.
but when we got our back against the walls, I feel like that's when we performed the best.
I think people will consider it now after the World Cup, and we get over our World Cup hangover. France versus South Africa in the quarterfinal of the Rugby World Cup 2023, and you can mark this, is the greatest game of rugby you'll ever watch in your life. Ever.
Yeah.
There is no better game that I can think of in my lifetime.
I think in my memory, it's the first time I've ever seen a conversion charge down.
Oh,
Yes.
Cheslin.
Cheslin,
For
your
me-
Easter.
For
Yes.
me, that was
yes.
the moment of the World Cup. For me,
Yeah.
in my opinion,
I couldn't agree more.
he didn't
yeah.
chase it. Well, if he hadn't chased it down,
We would've lost.
probably
Different story.
through the polls we would have lost.
Yes.
And
wouldn't
it was
be-
Thomas
yeah.
Ramos. He's the kicker.
Yeah.
He's a bloody
He's
good
a good
kicker as
kicker.
well. Yeah.
So I think it was mentioned by the commentator. I mean, Cheslin and Ramos play club rugby,
rugby
together.
together,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Cheslin knew like when the run up actually started.
Yeah, so the try before their first try, if you watch that back as well, Kobus Reinach, who's the second fastest player in the team, was only 2 meters away from charging it down. It was almost in the exact same spot. So I think also that moment, Ches and Watch was like,
It's possible.
maybe there's a gap here.
Yeah.
And I think, but it was iconic.
I
Absolutely iconic.
I celebrated that charge down like we
Yeah.
scored a
Yeah.
try.
It was phenomenal. But weren't you guys a little bit nervous when the French captain was brought back into the fold?
Dupont.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that moment, to me, I was like, "Yee, this could be a game changer." And if he
He
wasn't,
is a game changer. Yeah.
he is literally a game changer. Like, if he wasn't playing in that game, I would have felt a little bit more confident. Then he was announced for that game, and then I was like, "Yee,
I think-
the boys must be careful."
I think South Africans who weren't aware of his skill set saw how good a player he
Yes.
was
Me.
in that quarterfinal.
I was shocked. I'm not going to lie to you. In 2022, when he won, 2021 when he won World Rugby Player of the Year, and then I think he was nominated again in 2022 with Josh van der Fleer won from Ireland. I was like, people are raving about this
Yeah.
guy for
Who
no
is this
reason.
guy?
Who's this guy?
Yeah.
Come on, he can't be that
Yeah.
good. That quarter,
Uh-huh.
I literally, I was sitting there. I said to my dad, I was like, I don't think I've
Yeah.
ever seen a better scrum half.
Yes.
Like, there's probably only like Aaron Smith at his peak.
yeah.
Farida Priya, and then Antoine Dupont. That's it.
Yeah.
Those are the three conversations. Like it's
crazy.
I was watching that. His like tactical kicking.
Yes.
Like you get a Fafte Clark who can hit a box kick long, but a box kick short, but is a little bit slow at the ruck. You get Kobus Reinach, super quick at the ruck. Not the best box kicker on planet Earth. Then you get Antoine Dupont, who's making every decision for his entire team.
Hold the team.
He's
right
the captain. He's like the way he defends. Guys, Antoine Dupont. If that goes anywhere else, I think they would have won the World Cup.
But that's why I got nervous because I'm like,
Game
boys,
changer.
you have to be careful, or you have to like watch that man, or put 2 players on that man.
There was a lot of media hype around whether he'd play against the Springboks
He
or
had
not.
surgery and everything.
Surgery was it an eye socket?
Eye socket
fracture.
broken eye socket,
yeah.
There's metal in his brain now. He has to carry a card when he goes to the airport. And they're like, I got my card.
Iron Man.
I'm literally
Maybe
Iron
we
Man.
can say he got clubbed by the Springboks, I suppose.
Maybe, yeah. Well,
We end up winning by 1 point
Yes.
against
pressure.
France.
yeah.
How were we feeling knowing that England awaited us in the semis?
Easy.
that one was easy. That one was like,
But this is
don't
obviously
worry.
This is before the game.
This is before the
yes. Before the game, yes.
Things change very quickly, bro.
Throw in the B team, Rassie. Let's go. You know?
I actually thought that's what they were
Yes,
gonna
no,
do.
that was my thought. I was like, guys, don't worry about it. It's okay. That B
It's only
team that
England.
played against
Romania.
Romania,
Play them.
that's your squad. And they surprised us.
But
They
thank
really
goodness we
surprised.
didn't play our B squad because
Yeah.
we
Would have
definitely
lost.
would have lost.
Yeah.
I think also like the selection in those two games, France and England, was so clever, and something that my mates and I like sat down with, because Kobus and Mani played against France because Kobus is a much quicker 9 than Faf de Klerk, so that counterbalances with Antoine. And then I can't remember the French flyer's name, but he's a similar player to Mani Libok. And then you go to England, you go, we know what's going to happen. You put Faf in, he's the box kicker. You put Andre Pollard in, he's the tactical kicker. Like those two selections back to back, although my heart broke for a guy like Mani Libok, I was like, that is tactics to perfection. Like to perfection.
Mani was on the bench in the semi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think he's
And
still
he
got an
came off the bench,
opportunity.
yeah.
But what a semi-final it was, nail biting
Yo,
again,
crazy.
by 1 point again.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen a run like this in any Rugby World
No way.
Cup where
No way.
quarters, semi,
All
and
the knockouts.
final.
all the knockouts is by 1
Single
point.
bro.
I mean, that makes for great entertainment.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And talking about that England game, we have to talk about Ox, And-
Oh,
and
yes.
I
There's
mean,
there's three players alive.
we have to talk about Ox.
Yeah. There's 3 players that I liked after that game. Ergia, Handre, and Ox. That's it. The rest of them I didn't
Ox.
want to talk to or talk about after that game.
Now, but Ox
Ox
really
changed the game.
And like to me, I always knew he was a good player, but it's almost like he announced himself
To the world, yeah.
in a big moment where South Africans are nervous. Everyone is watching that game, and Ox was like, "Don't worry, I've got this. Let me show you
Fresh
how.
off the bench.
fresh off
boy.
the
Let me
bench.
show
Don't
you how
tag
it's
me in your
done."
post.
And what a guy! What a guy!
I love how he dominated Ellis Genge, and then Genge went off, and then Carl Sinkler came on. and he was
Also
like,
dominated
another
him.
one.
DJ Khaled,
Oh, more-
another one.
more people to dominate? Yeah, I can do
Yeah,
that.
I can do that. Fine.
Yes,
Bring
what
the
a guy.
cake, bro. Bring the cake. Ready to eat.
I love those memes with
Yeah, it's so
oxygen.
good.
Salads don't win you Rugby World Cup.
Exactly, cakes too, baby. Also, like I mean, in my memory, I mean, there's been great props over the years, like from all different teams, from all the Tide Furlong, who's made the World Rugby Team of the Year for like 3 years straight, plays for Ireland, But I've never seen a prop come off the bench and impact the game so much as did Oxenshare. I mean, he
pivotal moments.
completely
Yeah.
changed the game. Completely. As if he was Andre Pollard with a kicking tee. That's what he did in the scrum.
Yeah.
And it was iconic. Iconic.
What a guy!
We move on after beating England, and it's New Zealand in the final.
The dream final, baby.
the Perfect
It is
final.
the dream final. We've played against them in a final before.
1995.
95. They. What is my train of thought now? Anyway, we've never lost the final.
Never lost final.
And the only finals that New Zealand have lost are against us. They've only lost one final before. What were your feelings?
Back to back.
Back to back?
Really?
Even despite it being New Zealand.
Despite it being New Zealand because of the weather. And it's a weird thing. And I also thought about it afterwards. It's actually a bit of a stupid thought because New Zealand arguably has worse weather than us. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure it rains like 90% of the time in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So they should be used to playing in the wet. But you're playing against the Springboks who play a particular game that suits wet conditions. That's why we won when we beat Wales in the semi-final 2019. We won in wet conditions with 3-pointers. You know, we didn't muck around. And Aaron and I were actually talking about this. I was talking about how Andre doesn't give a
Cut
that out. That man doesn't care. When he's on the field, like, I'm the captain now. Like, Sia, you can make decisions. I'm the captain now.
Give me the ball.
Like,
Let's go.
Give me the ball. I'm making the decision. I'm going to kick here. I'm going to kick here. I'm going to do this. This is what I'm going to do. And I love that from Andre. So I knew for a fact we were going to win. And everyone was like, oh, it's going to be one in the forward pack. No. Delindi versus Geordie Barrett. That's where the game was won. And you can look back at it because Delindi absolutely rinsed Geordie Barrett. Geordie Barrett was nothing to him. He's like, come here, little boy. Let me show you how it's done. I am the Milnerton Express.
100%. Were you, with the 7-1 split in a final, I feel like that
stressed me out.
Yeah, it was a risky move, I feel, but it's like it kind of worked out because injury to any of our backline players.
Literally.
Yeah.
And Cheslin went down, 5 minutes into the game?
I was stressed.
That was stressed. Especially Cheslin because he's
that guy.
He's the greatest.
He is the greatest.
Yeah, but to be honest, I was quite nervous, and we had this conversation building up to the game.
You told me straight, bro.
I was like, "There's no way," and that's South African, and yes, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Like, I just felt that, like, you know, when you talk about luck and you need luck to win a Rugby World Cup or any big tournament, I felt that we were so close to running out of luck. France, England, we were so close. And also I felt that whole thing with Bongi Mbonambi put South Africa in the spotlight, building up to the game, where we were now focused on this allegation, racial slur, and New Zealand could simply go... Horrible. New Zealand could simply go about their business, focus on what they had to do, and then we also announced our squad. And I was like, yo, Rassie, like, are you sure?
Are you sure?
Like, are you sure? Maybe 6'2" Nyana? Like, I wasn't confident. I was like 6'2" Nyana, but then the game happened, and especially that first 20 minutes. From the point where Sam Cane got that red card, and I saw how the Boks were playing that first 20 minutes. That's when I started believing, because I was quite doubtful heading into that final against the All Blacks. And in general, the All Blacks make us as South Africans a little bit nervous when we have to play against them, whether it's just a friendly or rugby championship. Yeah. We're always nervous. But for that final, I was like, nah, my boy, it's not happening. And then they proved me wrong.
I was cautiously confident ahead of the final. Like, I knew that our squad had what it takes to win or to beat New Zealand specifically, but to win the World Cup overall. But it's New Zealand.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's
you just never know.
You never know which New Zealand team is gonna show up on the day. But it was an entertaining final. I feel phenomenal. I felt more gees than the 2019 final, or more nerves, which made it more entertaining.
It felt more important. I don't know why. And maybe because of what we've been through as a country, from COVID to the riots to so many really hard things.
Load shedding, water,
like
so many challenges.
We're going through a lot. Like, it just felt so important to us. Felt more important than 2019. Because also there was something like 2019. No one expected. What were we? 7th in the world when we went to the World Cup. I never expected it. You know what I'm saying? But now it's like this is the best team I've ever seen. Like, this is. And this is their moment.
There was also a great sense of it's possible.
Yeah,
where when you're not expecting much from a team, it's okay, and when you win it, you celebrate. But there was almost this expectation that the Boks will do it, and even after they won the Rugby World Cup, I felt it was almost like a sigh of relief from the Boks players to say, "Whew, we finally did it. We finally got to the back-to-back. We're the best in the world." And that's why we're seeing the boys celebrating the way they are at the moment.
It's the last one
because
for a lot of them.
yes, and we talk about the legacy for the squad and Rassie, Erasmus and this, let's call it the coaching staff and the boys on the field. They've done well over the last 4 years.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Is this the greatest team ever?
Greatest team ever.
Greatest team ever.
Because obviously we would compare them.
There's
to
only
the,
one comparison: 2011 to 2015.
All Blacks.
Yo, that's a tough one.
I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
Just purely because of I guess it's not about. I'm very sentimental and I'm very patriotic. I don't think it's about
hard.
it's not about like the team and the players. For me, it's just like what we've been through and the players rising to the occasion again. Which maybe they felt pressure, maybe they didn't. They in Chasing the Sun documentary, they were talking about what pressure means to them. Pressure's nothing. They don't feel the pressure. The pressure's people here at
going
home
through
through the most. What am I going to eat tonight? Like that's
pressure.
That's pressure. But I think they represent South Africa so well, this team.
Yes.
I agree.
And for me, that is like, I can't relate to why New Zealand like won back to back. I don't know what the people were going through, but for me, relatability between the 2019 and 2023 Springboks, I think we the best. I'm sentimental in that.
No, I don't even think you have to be sentimental. No. I think you can spit facts about it, Test rugby wasn't where it is, where it is now in comparison to 2010 to, because we sort of won British and Irish Lions 2009. So 2010 to 2015, I mean, that All Black side was almost unbeatable. But they didn't really have much challenge. We were second in the world, and I'll be honest with you, we were average at best.
Yeah.
And a Heineken May, we were average at best.
But that Springbok era, when they were dominating, it wasn't.
It barely existed. Nor did the Australian. We look at Ireland now, who are unreal. England only really started peaking after 2016 when they won the Six Nations, whatever. So I think where Test rugby is now, I mean, you have Scotland in the top 5. Scotland were a walkover. I watched a game from 2011. That's not long ago, 12 years ago, 2011. France beat Scotland at the World Cup 53-7. Scotland beat France in a warm-up game before the World Cup this year. So where Test rugby is now,
it's more
also
competitive.
The New Zealand team didn't ever have to win a British and Irish Lions
in between.
They didn't have to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. They didn't have to deal with the riots that went through in South Africa, load shedding water, all that stuff, and still continue to dominate. Best team ever. Siya Kolisi, best captain ever.
Especially with what you mentioned there, going from Rugby World Cup, British Irish Lions to a victory, back to winning the Rugby World Cup. Like, that in itself is phenomenal. So you have to give it to the Springbok squad.
Best team ever.
Yeah.
What I'm loving in the celebration, at time of recording, they've started the trophy parade.
Yes. Yeah.
I've never seen Johannesburg CBD as packed and as vibrant as when the Springbok bus went through. To my understanding, like, rugby is huge in Xhosa culture, and Gauteng is not a large Xhosa population, but everyone is South African, right? So everyone is still like
feeling the gears.
Yes, and I think the unification of our country with this Rugby World Cup is better than 2019.
Yeah, 100%. I'll say it just means so much more. Like, I was just looking at videos at Brahm, and like, I'm getting emotional now, but like, as like a white person, like, genuinely, it's so beautiful to see so many different people. Like, you think about Brahm, and you think about people of color. That's it.
Yes.
And I'm a white guy.
Uh-huh.
That's just how it is,
Yeah.
right? And you go look at Brahm, and there's videos of kids, like white kids,
Celebrating.
black kids, Indian kids, colored kids, throwing rugby balls around, like it's iconic. The Springboks, what they've done this year is so much more meaningful than anything they've ever done before. And I would say, obviously, I mean, we were all not really born or alive or at least conscious of 1995, and obviously the elections in 1994. But like this just feels like our 1995. I don't know.
Yes.
That's how it feels like to
Yeah,
me.
it's a special moment.
Yeah.
And I think for me, being involved with the fan parks, like it's one thing for us as sports lovers and sports broadcasters to talk about rugby, to talk about Semtanda Kulisi, talk about the squad. It's one thing to celebrate the sporting aspect, but it's another thing to actually see people get emotional about the Springboks and what the victories mean to them. So often in the front by the big screen, you would find youngsters wearing their Springbok jerseys. And when they were lifting the trophy, I actually spotted one, I believe he's around about 10, 11 years old, and he was holding his jersey like this, crying his eyes out as Sia was lifting the trophy. And that's something that is beyond sport. It's something that you can't write a script for that. You can't plan that child is going to cry. You can't plan the emotion that you felt when you saw the videos of Brahm. And it speaks to what rugby means, but what this nation loves so much about the Springboks and how this sport and this Webb Ellis trophy can just bring us together.
I think also what's important for me is that this current squad is representative.
Yes.
And it's the most representative that it's ever been, I feel, with in terms of the demographic that is in the squad. They always talk about transformation, but
Yes.
I think it's more about inclusion in terms of opportunities that young rugby players get. If there's equal opportunity, there is an equal chance that you can play for the Springboks.
And you can be great.
And you can
Because
be great
also
at it.
in the past, what used to annoy me a little bit is when certain players were picked, we used to use the quota term,
yeah.
like a quota player. When we now select players of color, we know that they can play.
Yes.
It's not even, there's no discussion about, no, this one is a transformational pick, whatever, quota player. Every single player in that squad can play and compete with the best in the world.
And we needed that. And I think like that's where, there's talks. So obviously now Jacques he's gone. Is it Munster?
Leinster.
Leinster.
Yeah,
He's going to Leinster to be director of rugby, and that's epic for him and his family. Jacques, the best defensive coach on planet Earth.
And our defense was solid. Shout
Right.
out.
We won 2
Shout
World
out.
Cups on the back of Jacques Nienaber's tactics. Love Rassie. Rassie's greatest of all time. Jacques, best defensive coach the world ever see. Now, this Rassie taking over the interim, which is fine. I think we need to find an actual coach. That's where Rassie's going to be. And that's where I believe Rassie should be. Should be going into Zweden and finding the next Sio Kolisi. And going into communities and growing the game of rugby. Like don't just go win a World Cup. Use that World Cup. Bring Eben Etzebeth to Soweto and find some tall kid who's like, I want to jump in a line
And they're there,
And
trust
Etzebeth
me.
goes, come.
Let's go. Let me show you how.
So like that's where I want to see Rassie now, because like that's gonna help us get away from the quota. Because I also hate, there's nothing. The word quota makes me angry because. And to be fair, there was good intentions around quota systems when they come out, when they came out originally, and it was tough as young players, like at school and stuff, to hear all these terrible stories of how people will get picked for a team but they're never included, and that's what I love. Why I love what you said about inclusion. So Rassie needs to now go and like set up those development programs in your Sowetos, in your Zwides, in your Kailichas, those.
But I think
places.
Rassie was also integral to getting that quota word like gone,
Yes,
removing it. And I spoke to him about the inclusion of the entire demographic of South Africa within the Springbok squad, and he noted how important it was to start at that level, under 15, under 16, under 17s. If those rugby players all have the same kind of resources, there's nothing stopping them from
Yes, sir.
from becoming as good as they can be. Which I think is important. But I also agree, Director of Rugby, now let's find the next golden generation.
Yeah. Go and set up those development programs. Like, I would even love to, like Rassie, because you're watching this, obviously. Like, phone me. I'm ready. Like, genuinely, like,
Put
I
me
would,
in, coach. I'm
like,
ready.
Like, let's go into communities and
We have to.
celebrate the game of rugby. Like, why not? That's my question. Like, why not?
Yeah.
Because it's not going to cost you millions of rands. Rassie Erasmus, I believe, is one of the most incredible human beings. He's not going to go steal millions of rands to go and set up a program. He's going to say, once a month, we'll go to the Lions Rugby Union and we'll host 200 kids and we'll split them into pods. We'll bring the Springboks and the Lions teams in and what.
Yeah.
And like that, I would love to see.
One final question that I have. Three-peat?
Ooh, Australia 2027. I would. Do I have to answer?
Yes.
I would say, why not? It's possible, but there are a few question marks because it will be a new squad. It will be a new generation, and maybe we can say 2031, and not put too much pressure on the new generation that will go to Australia in 2027.
Put pressure.
Put pressure.
You're like, put pressure.
We thrive under pressure.
We thrive under
What
pressure.
is pressure?
I think also, so like, and people will disagree with me, Willie de Roux will not play for the Springboks anymore. I just think he's lost. He's like, I still think he's the most intelligent rugby player we've ever had in our team by miles. The man reads the game so well. Like, I'd love to know the stat of how many assists, like the final pass to a try that he's had in his career. It must be a phenomenal amount, right? So, like, Willie de Roux goes away. Dwayne Vermeulen is done. Faf de Klerk is probably done. Sia Kolisi might get there. Eben Etzebeth might get there. I mean, those are really critical players. Mark's only 29. He's only 29. He's 33 at the next World Cup. Handré Pollard's also only 29. He's 33 at the next World Cup. Mani Libbok is only 30 at the next World Cup. You get these kind of players. Might need to find another hooker because I think Bongio Manambi needs like 3 years of rest.
Is it safe to say Dion Fourie is done?
Yeah, maybe. No, bro, bring him back at 42, bro. I want to see him.
If there's one player that could come back, it's Dion Fourie.
Guys, how conditioned is Dion Fourie for a 38-year-old?
It's amazing.
I want to
It's
look like
incredible
that
to
when I'm
see.
38.
A machine.
So I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes because if we can get those kinds of players to... I mean, Archie Snyman's what, like 27?
Yeah.
He's one of the best locks in the world. You know? We have the players still and we'll have more players. Evan Roos will start coming through. Salman Murat will start coming through. Those kinds of players who are making big impacts at their provinces. So I'm going to say yes, 100%.
What do you say?
I am also going to say yes.
Yeah.
Because I think when everyone has eyes and when there's pressure on the Springboks, as I mentioned earlier on in the podcast, like we thrive under pressure, I feel.
We
When
deliver.
Our backs against the walls, we can do it. So
Repeat,
2027, Australia,
It's
I'll
unanimous.
see you guys there
Yes, yeah.
in Australia. That's the only time I'll go to Australia. But yeah, I think I'm confident that we can three-peat it.
Victory is imminent.
Yes.
Don't tag us in your post. Unless we win, then tag us. At the Springboks.
Done.
Nice.
Oh, we.
Boka Bua! Nice.
This is 5FM.